The espresso machine was making that grinding noise again, the one that sounded like a garbage disposal eating a spoon. I'd been tinkering with it for 2 hours, spread out on my kitchen floor like some suburban mechanic, when my phone lit up at 2:17 a.m. The text was from my wife, Ava. Just married my coworker, David. You're pathetic, BTW. Staying here permanently. Don't contact me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Below it was a photo. Ava in a white dress that looked like it came from a Vegas chapel's rental rack, grinning next to David Morrison, the same David Morrison who'd been just a friend for the past 6 months. The same David who'd somehow managed to accompany her on what was supposed to be a girls' weekend in Vegas. I stared at the screen for a full minute, my brain processing the information like a computer with a corrupted hard drive. Then I typed back the only response that felt appropriate. Cool. And you know what? I meant it. After 15 years of marriage, after watching Ava transform from the ambitious marketing coordinator I'd fallen for into someone who complained about everything from my morning coffee ritual to the way I breathed while sleeping, this felt less like a betrayal and more like a get-out-of-jail-free card delivered by express mail. I'm Ethan Hart, 39 years old, senior IT specialist at Meridian Financial, and apparently now a single man. I've got a mortgage, a receding hairline, and a dark sense of humor that my soon-to-be ex-wife always said would get me in trouble someday. Turns out she was right, just not in the way she expected. The first thing I did was laugh. Not a bitter laugh or a heartbroken sob, just a genuine from-the-belly laugh that echoed through our suddenly very quiet house. Then I got to work. By 2:30 a.m., I'd logged into our joint bank accounts and transferred every penny to my personal account. By 2:45, I'd canceled all our joint credit cards. By 3 hours, I'd called our insurance company's 24-hour line and removed Ava from our health, auto, and home policies. The customer service rep sounded bored until I explained the situation. "So your wife texted you that she married someone else?" she asked, suddenly more interested. "Yep. Got the wedding photo and everything. Lovely ceremony, I'm sure. Very Vegas." "Sir, I have to ask, are you okay?" "Better than I've been in years, honestly." By 3:15, I'd changed all the passwords on our streaming accounts, smart home system, and garage door opener. The locksmith would have to wait until morning, but I scheduled that too. When the automated system asked for the reason for the emergency service call, I selected Other and typed, "Wife eloped with coworker. Need locks changed before she realizes she's broke." At 3:30, I called my lawyer's emergency line. Patricia Kelman had handled my business contracts for years, and I knew she'd appreciate the irony of the situation. "Ethan, do you know what time it is?" "Pat, I need to file for divorce, like today." "What happened?" I read her the text and described the photo. There was a long pause. "She actually sent you a wedding photo? Complete with chapel backdrop and Elvis impersonator in the corner." "Jesus, Ethan, I'm sorry." "Don't be, I'm not. Can we file abandonment papers too?" "Absolutely. And Ethan? Document everything. Screenshots, bank records, the works." By 4 a.m., I'd called my best friend Greg. He's a former cop turned private investigator, which means he keeps weird hours and has a twisted sense of justice that matches my own. "Dude, it's 4 a.m. "Greg, I need you to come over. Bring your camera and your laptop." "What happened?" I told him. By the time I finished, I could hear him getting dressed. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't do anything stupid before I get there." Too late. I already did something smart. When Greg arrived, he found me sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, my laptop open, and a stack of printed documents. He's a big guy, 6'3", built like the linebacker he used to be in college, but he moves with the quiet precision of someone who spent years sneaking up on people who don't want to be found. "Show me the text," he said. I handed him my phone. He studied the photo, zooming in on details I hadn't noticed. David looked nervous, sweaty. Ava looked drunk. "This is from the Little White Chapel," Greg said. "See the background? I know that place. Cheap, fast, and they don't ask too many questions." "Is that good or bad for me?" "Good, very good, because David's still married." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What? David Morrison, right? Works at Pinnacle Marketing? I ran a background check on him last year when my cousin was thinking about hiring him. He's married to Linda Morrison. They separated 8 months ago, but never filed for divorce." The room seemed to tilt slightly. "So Ava just committed bigamy?" "Yep, and you've got the evidence." Greg grinned, and it wasn't a nice expression. This just got a lot more interesting. We spent the next 2 hours documenting everything. Greg helped me file a police report for bigamy, sent David's information to the district attorney's office, and walked me through the process of securing all my assets. By the time the sun came up, I had a paper trail that would make an accountant weep with joy. At 6 a.m., my phone started ringing. Ava's number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. "You should probably answer," Greg said, "but record it." I hit the record button on my phone app and answered. "Ethan! Oh my God! What did you do? My cards aren't working, and the hotel says we have to check out, and David's freaking out because his wife called him screaming, and—" "Slow down, Ava. You texted me that you married David. I believed you. Congratulations, by the way." "It wasn't real. We were drunk. It was just for fun." Funny, the photo looked pretty real to me. White dress, chapel, the works. Very convincing. "Ethan, please. I need you to put the money back. We're stranded." "Stranded? But you said you were staying in Vegas permanently. I was just helping you commit to that decision." "This isn't funny." "You're right, it's hilarious." I hung up and looked at Greg, who was shaking his head in amazement. 15 years of marriage, and this is how it ends, I said, with a drunk wedding photo and a 2-word text response. "What happens now?" I stood up, stretched, and looked out at the sunrise painting my neighborhood in shades of gold and orange. For the first time in years, the future felt full of possibilities instead of obligations. Now the real fun begins. By 10 a.m., my phone had become a weapon of mass communication. Missed calls from Ava's mother, her sister, 3 of her co-workers, and someone who identified themselves as David's attorney in a voicemail that sounded more panicked than professional. I was enjoying a peaceful breakfast, actual Eggs Benedict, something I'd never been able to make when Ava was around because she claimed hollandaise sauce was basically heart attack in a bowl, when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Officer Martinez from the local police department. She was young, probably late 20s, with the kind of serious expression that suggested she'd already heard some version of my story and wasn't quite sure what to make of it. "Mr. Hart, I'm Officer Martinez. I understand you filed a report early this morning regarding your wife." "Come in, officer. Coffee?" She accepted the cup I offered and pulled out a small notebook. "Sir, I have to tell you, this is one of the more unusual domestic situations I've encountered." "How so?" "Well, for starters, your wife called the station an hour ago claiming you've stolen all her money and abandoned her in Las Vegas." I nearly laughed. "Officer, would you like to see the text she sent me at 2:17 this morning?" I showed her my phone. Officer Martinez read the message, studied the photo, and raised an eyebrow. "She sent you a wedding photo?" "Complete with her new husband, who, according to my friend's background check, is still married to someone else." "Mr. Morrison? You know him?" "We've had some complaints about him before. Domestic disturbances with his actual wife. So, you're saying Mrs. Hart committed bigamy?" "I'm saying Mrs. Hart texted me that she married someone else and told me not to contact her. I took her at her word and acted accordingly." Officer Martinez made some notes. "And the bank accounts?" "Joint accounts. I moved the money to my personal account after she informed me she was staying in Vegas permanently. Seemed like the responsible thing to do." "Sir, I have to ask, Did you do this out of anger? I considered the question seriously. Officer, I did this out of relief. My wife just handed me a get-out-of-jail-free card and documented it with photographic evidence. I'd be crazy not to take it. She finished her coffee and stood up. Mr. Hart, based on what I've seen here, you haven't committed any crimes. Your wife, on the other hand. She shook her head. I'd suggest you keep documenting everything, and maybe change your locks. Already scheduled. As soon as Officer Martinez left, my sister Maya called. She's a family law attorney in Chicago, 3 years younger than me, and possessed of a razor-sharp legal mind that our parents always said was wasted on someone so nice. Ethan, what the hell is going on? Mom called me crying about something Ava's mother told her about Vegas and bigamy and… Maya, slow down. Let me explain. I walked her through the entire timeline. There was a long silence when I finished. She actually sent you a wedding photo? Why does everyone keep focusing on that part? Because it's insane, Ethan. Who does that? Apparently, my soon-to-be ex-wife. Okay, listen to me carefully. You did everything right. Document everything. Keep recording conversations, and whatever you do, don't let her back in that house. What if she shows up? Call the police. She abandoned the marital residence after informing you she'd married someone else. In most states, that's grounds for immediate divorce, based on abandonment and adultery. Maya, can I ask you something? Of course. Am I a terrible person for being happy about this? There was a pause. Ethan, I've watched you be miserable for years. Ava treated you like a roommate she barely tolerated. If this is what it took for you to get your life back, then no, you're not terrible. You're lucky. At noon, the locksmith arrived. His name was Bob. He was probably 60 years old, and he had the weathered look of a man who'd seen every possible domestic drama play out in front of door locks. So your wife ran off to Vegas? He asked while installing new deadbolts. Married her coworker, actually. Sent me a photo. Bob paused his drilling. She sent you a photo of her wedding to another man? Yep. And you responded by changing the locks? Among other things. Bob resumed drilling. Son, in 30 years of doing this job, I've seen a lot of stupid people do a lot of stupid things. But sending your husband a wedding photo with another man? That might be the stupidest. That's what I thought. You want me to install a security camera while I'm here? Actually, yeah, that's a great idea. While Bob worked on the security system, I decided to check my email. Bad decision. Ava's mother had found my work address and sent me a message that was equal parts guilt trip and legal threat. The subject line read, "How could you do this to my daughter?" The email itself was a masterpiece of misplaced outrage. According to Mrs. Patterson, I was a heartless monster who had trapped her daughter in Las Vegas without money or resources. She demanded I immediately restore Ava's access to our accounts and stop this childish tantrum. I forwarded the email to Maya with a note. Is it just me, or does no one in Ava's family understand what I married someone else means? Maya's response came back in minutes. They understand. They just thought you'd be too much of a pushover to do anything about it. They were wrong. At 2 p.m., David's actual wife showed up at my door. Linda Morrison was a small woman with short blonde hair and the kind of furious energy that made me immediately step back when I opened the door. She was holding a manila folder and looked like she hadn't slept in days. Are you Ethan Hart? Yes, ma'am. Your wife just ruined my life. I invited her in and made tea while she told me her story. Linda and David had been separated for 8 months, fighting over custody of their 2 kids and division of assets. They hadn't filed for divorce yet because David kept promising to work things out. Then this morning, I get a call from my lawyer saying David got married in Vegas, Linda said, her voice shaking. To your wife, while he's still married to me. I'm sorry, Linda. I had no idea David was married. He's been telling everyone we were divorced, even told his coworkers, but we're not. We're very much still married, which makes whatever he did in Vegas a felony. She opened the manila folder and showed me copies of their marriage certificate, separation agreement, and a stack of text messages between her and David from the past week. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a message dated 3 days ago. "He's asking me to reconcile, saying he loves me and wants to work things out. Then he goes to Vegas and marries your wife?" "Linda, I think our spouses just handed us both a gift." "How do you figure?" "Well, you now have grounds for divorce based on adultery and bigamy, and I have a wife who documented her own infidelity and abandonment." Linda stared at me for a moment, then started laughing. It was a slightly hysterical sound, but genuine. "You know what? You're right. David just made this the easiest divorce in history." We spent the next hour comparing notes and sharing evidence. Linda had photos of David's car in Ava's driveway from 2 months ago, something I'd never known about. I had bank records showing David had been paying for hotel rooms and dinners with Ava for months. "They've been planning this," Linda said. "Look at these credit card statements. David's been buying jewelry, clothes, even paid for Ava's spa treatments." "With what money? I thought you guys were separated." "We have joint accounts too. Had joint accounts. I closed them this morning after I found out about Vegas." At 4:00 p.m., my peaceful afternoon was interrupted by the sound of someone pounding on my front door like they were trying to break it down. I checked the new security camera Bob had installed and saw David Morrison standing on my porch, red-faced and furious. I opened the door, but kept the chain lock engaged. "David, how was Vegas?" "You bastard, what did you do?" "I got your wife's text message and responded appropriately. Congratulations on the wedding, by the way. Lovely ceremony." "This isn't funny, Ethan. Ava's stuck in Vegas with no money and Linda cleaned out our accounts." "Your accounts? I thought you were divorced." David's face went even redder. "That's not the point." "Actually, David, that's exactly the point. See, when your wife, your actual legal wife, found out you'd committed bigamy, she decided to protect her assets. Smart woman. I want to talk to Ava. She's your wife now, David. Your problem, not mine." I started to close the door, but David stuck his foot in the gap. "Don't you dare walk away from me." "David, you're trespassing. I suggest you remove your foot before I call the police." "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. Ava sent me a text saying she married you and was staying in Vegas permanently. I believed her. If that was a mistake, maybe you two should have thought it through before sending wedding photos to her husband." David finally moved his foot, and I closed the door. Through the security camera, I watched him pace around my front yard for 10 minutes, talking frantically on his phone. Finally, he got in his car and drove away. Linda, who had witnessed the entire exchange from my living room window, shook her head. "That man is having a complete meltdown." "Good," I said. "He earned it." At 6 p.m., Greg returned with a bottle of bourbon and a stack of legal documents. "Divorce papers are filed," he announced. "Abandonment, adultery, and irreconcilable differences. Your lawyer says it should be finalized in 60 days. What about the bigamy charges?" "That's where it gets interesting. The DA's office is very interested in David Morrison. Apparently, this isn't his first time pulling something like this." "What do you mean?" "He's been married 4 times, Ethan. 4 times. And there's some question about whether he was properly divorced from wife number 2 before he married wife number 3. I poured 3 glasses of bourbon, one for me, one for Greg, and one for Linda, who had decided to stay for moral support and legal strategy. "So David's a serial bigamist?" Linda asked. "Looks like it. Which means Ava picked a real winner." We raised our glasses in a toast. "To stupid people making stupid decisions," Greg said. "And to the rest of us benefiting from their stupidity," Linda added. "To new beginnings," I said. We drank, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely optimistic about the future. Outside, the sun was setting, painting my neighborhood in warm golden light. My phone buzzed with another call from Ava, which I ignored. Whatever crisis she was dealing with in Vegas was no longer my problem. Tomorrow, I decided, I was going to start living my life again. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Ava had apparently spent the night trying every possible way to contact me, including messaging me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and even Venmo, with payment requests for 1 cent that included increasingly desperate messages. My favorite was the Venmo request that read, "For emergency cab fare, please Ethan. I'm sorry about everything." I declined it and added a note. "Congratulations on your marriage." Greg arrived at 8 a.m. with coffee and donuts, looking like a man with a plan. "Okay, here's what happened overnight," he said, spreading out a folder of documents on my kitchen table. "David and Ava are officially stuck in Vegas. Hotel kicked them out, David's credit cards are maxed out, and Ava's been calling everyone in her contact list begging for money." "How do you know all this?" "Because David's actual wife, Linda, has been forwarding me all the voicemails Ava left her. Listen to this one." Greg played a recording on his phone. Ava's voice, slurred and desperate. "Linda, I know you hate me, but please, I need help. David doesn't have any money and we can't get home, and Ethan won't answer his phone. I made a mistake, okay? I was drunk and stupid, and now I'm stuck in this horrible city with your horrible husband, and I just want to go home." "She called David horrible?" I asked. "Gets better. Listen to this one from 3 hours later." The second recording was even more pathetic. "Linda, it's me again. David's being a complete asshole. He keeps blaming me for everything, saying it's my fault his cards don't work and his wife is divorcing him. I told him you were already getting divorced, but he says that's not true. I don't understand what's happening. Please call me back." I was starting to feel almost sorry for Ava. Almost. "There's more," Greg said. "David's been calling his boss, trying to get an advance on his salary. But here's the thing. His boss is Linda's brother." "No way! Way! And Linda's brother is not happy about his employee committing bigamy with someone else's wife. David's probably going to lose his job." My phone rang. Maya. "Ethan, have you been on Facebook this morning?" "No, why?" "Check Ava's page, like, right now." I opened Facebook and navigated to Ava's profile. Her most recent post from 6 a.m. was a long, rambling status update that read like a manifesto of self-pity. "To everyone asking what happened, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I hurt people. But my husband has abandoned me in Las Vegas with no money and no way to get home. He closed our bank accounts, changed the locks on our house, and won't even talk to me. I know I messed up, but this is cruel and vindictive. I just want to come home and work things out. Please share this so Ethan sees it. Vegas nightmare, chakra marriage problems. Stuck in Vegas." The post had 67 comments, and they were not sympathetic. "Did she just admit to cheating on social media?" Greg asked, reading over my shoulder. "Looks like it, and she's asking people to share it." I scrolled through the comments. Most of them were from Ava's friends and coworkers, and they ranged from confused to outright hostile. "Wait, you cheated on Ethan? What the hell, Ava? You married someone else and you're surprised your husband changed the locks? Girl, you brought this on yourself. Ethan's a good guy. You screwed up big time." But the comment that made me laugh out loud was from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who was 75 years old and apparently had no patience for drama. "Young lady, you made your bed. Now lie in it, in Vegas, with your new husband." "This is getting out of hand," I said. "No," Greg corrected. "This is getting good. Look at the shares." Ava's post had been shared 43 times, mostly by people adding their own commentary. My coworker Janet had shared it with the comment, "When keeping it real goes wrong." My cousin in Denver had shared it with, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." But the share that really caught my attention was from David's actual wife, Linda. She had shared Ava's post and added, "This woman helped my husband commit bigamy. She knew he was married and didn't care. Now she's asking for sympathy because there are consequences for her actions. Some people need to learn that actions have results. Linda's post had been shared even more than Ava's original, and the comments were brutal. Homewrecker got what she deserved. Why would you marry someone else's husband and then be surprised when it blows up? Ethan Hart is my hero for not putting up with this nonsense. I hope she enjoys her new life in Vegas. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is David. We need to talk, man to man. I showed the text to Greg, who grinned. Oh, this should be good. Are you going to respond? I typed back. Cool. Talk to your wife about whatever you need to discuss. You know Ava? The one you married? David's response came immediately. Don't be a smartass. I'm trying to fix this. Fix what? You got married. Congratulations. I hope you're very happy together. It wasn't real. The photo looked real. The marriage certificate probably looks real too. The bigamy charges will definitely be real. There was a long pause before David's next message. You're ruining both our lives over a stupid mistake. I showed the message to Greg, who was practically vibrating with glee. Tell him he ruined his own life when he decided to marry someone else's wife, Greg said. But I had a better idea. I screenshot David's messages and posted them on my own Facebook page with the caption, Update. Apparently getting married in Vegas was just a stupid mistake, and I'm ruining lives by taking my wife at her word when she said she married someone else. Who knew that believing your spouse could be so controversial? The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, my post had 200 likes and 90 comments, all supportive. You're handling this with more grace than I would. Ava and David made their choice. Now they get to live with it. The audacity of these people is unbelievable. Stay strong, Ethan. You deserve better. But the comment that made my day was from my high school English teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, who was now retired and apparently had a lot of time for social media. Mr. Hart, in 40 years of teaching, I've learned that some people create their own problems and then blame everyone else when those problems have consequences. You are handling this situation with remarkable maturity and wisdom. Also, your use of the shrug emoji is perfect. A+ work. Even my former teacher was giving me grades for my divorce. At 2 p.m., things escalated when Ava posted a video. She was sitting in what looked like a Vegas hotel lobby, her hair unwashed and her makeup smeared. David was visible in the background, pacing and talking angrily on his phone. Hi everyone, Ava said to the camera, her voice shaky. I wanted to explain what really happened because people are getting the wrong idea. Yes, David and I got married, but it was just for fun. We were drunk, and it seemed funny at the time. We never meant for it to be real. She paused, wiping her nose with a tissue. But when we woke up the next morning, Ethan had already filed for divorce and taken all our money. He won't even talk to me. I've been trying to reach him for 2 days, but he's blocked my number and changed the locks on our house. I don't even have a way to get home. The video continued for another 5 minutes, with Ava alternating between self-pity and subtle accusations that I was being unreasonable and vindictive. I know I made a mistake, she concluded, but marriage is about forgiveness, right? It's about working through problems together. Instead, Ethan just threw away 15 years like it meant nothing. The video ended with Ava in tears, begging people to share the post so I would see it and come to my senses. I watched the whole thing twice, then called Maya. Did you see Ava's video? Unfortunately, yes. Ethan, she just admitted to adultery and abandonment on camera. She's basically building your divorce case for you. That's what I thought. Should I respond? Absolutely not. Let her keep talking. Every word she says makes your position stronger. But Greg had a different opinion. Dude, you have to respond. She's trying to control the narrative, make you look like the bad guy. You can't let that stand. What would I even say? The truth. Simple, straightforward, and devastating. So I made my own video. I sat in my living room, wearing a clean shirt and speaking in a calm, reasonable tone. Hi everyone. I've been getting a lot of messages about Ava's videos, so I thought I should clarify a few things. First, here's the text message I received at 2:17 a.m. 2 days ago. I held up my phone, showing Ava's original message and the wedding photo. As you can see, Ava informed me that she had married her coworker David and would be staying in Vegas permanently. She told me not to contact her. So I didn't. I believed her when she said she was married to someone else, and I acted accordingly. I paused, letting that sink in. Now, Ava says this was just a drunken mistake and that I should forgive her. But here's the thing. You don't accidentally get married. You don't accidentally put on a wedding dress, go to a chapel, exchange vows, and pose for photos. Those are choices. Adult choices with adult consequences. I held up another document. This is a background check on David Morrison, Ava's new husband. It shows that David is still legally married to his previous wife, Linda. Which means what happened in Vegas wasn't just adultery, it was bigamy, which is a felony in Nevada. I looked directly into the camera. I've been married to Ava for 15 years. In all that time, I never cheated, never lied about where I was going or who I was with, and never sent her photos of myself with other women. I kept my vows, she didn't, and now she's asking for forgiveness while sitting next to the man she married. I stood up, walking to my front window. Ava says I threw away 15 years like it meant nothing. But I didn't throw anything away. She did. When she decided David was more important than our marriage. When she decided a weekend in Vegas was worth more than the life we built together. When she sent me a photo of herself in a wedding dress with another man. I turned back to the camera. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm relieved. Because after 15 years, I finally know where I stand. And it's not next to someone who thinks marriage vows are suggestions and wedding photos are pranks. I ended the video with, I wish Ava and David the best in their new life together, in Vegas, permanently, as requested. The video went viral. Within 6 hours, it had been shared over 1,000 times and had accumulated more than 500 comments. Local news stations picked it up. Someone created a hashtag, #VegasDivorce. My phone was buzzing constantly with friend requests, interview requests, and messages of support from complete strangers. But the message that mattered most came from Linda Morrison. Ethan, I just wanted to thank you. Your video gave me the courage to tell my own story. David's been lying to everyone for months, and I was too embarrassed to say anything. Not anymore. We're in this together now, and we're going to make sure both of them face the consequences of their choices. I was no longer just getting divorced. I was leading a movement. The morning of day 4 brought an unexpected visitor. My mother-in-law, Patricia Patterson, standing on my freshly secured doorstep at 7 a.m. with a suitcase and the expression of a woman preparing for war. Ethan, we need to talk. Good morning, Patricia. How was your flight from Phoenix? Don't be cute with me. Let me in. I opened the door but didn't move aside. Actually, Patricia, I think we should talk out here. Beautiful morning, don't you think? Her face flushed red. You're not going to let me into the house I helped my daughter decorate? The house that your daughter abandoned when she married someone else? No, I don't think that would be appropriate. Patricia's voice rose to a pitch that could shatter wine glasses. She made a mistake. People make mistakes. You don't destroy a marriage over one stupid night. You're right, I said calmly. People do make mistakes, like when they cheat on their spouse for months, then marry their lover in Vegas and send wedding photos to their husband. Those are definitely mistakes. She was drunk. Patricia, let me ask you something. If Ava had come home and told you she was drunk when she signed the mortgage papers, would you expect the bank to just forget about it? That's different. How? She sputtered for a moment, then pulled out her phone. Look at this. Look what you've done to her. She showed me a video call screenshot of Ava, who looked like she'd been living in a bus station for a week. Her hair was greasy, Her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes were red-rimmed from crying. "She's sleeping in the airport, Ethan. The airport! Because you won't send her money to come home." "She's not coming home, Patricia. She told me she was staying in Vegas permanently, with her new husband." "Stop saying that. It's not real." I pulled out my phone and showed her the wedding photo again. "It looks pretty real to me. White dress, chapel, rings, the works. Very convincing." Patricia stared at the photo, and for a moment, her anger faltered. She really sent you this?" At 2:17 a.m., along with a message calling me pathetic and telling me not to contact her. "Oh, Ava," Patricia whispered, and suddenly she looked every one of her 68 years. "What were you thinking?" "I don't think she was thinking, Patricia. I think she was acting, and now she's dealing with the consequences." My mother-in-law sat down heavily on my front steps. "Ethan, please. I know she hurt you. I know this is terrible, but she's my daughter. I can't just watch her suffer like this." "Patricia, I understand you want to help Ava, but I'm not her husband anymore. She made sure of that when she married David. If you want to send her money, send her money. If you want to buy her a plane ticket, buy her a plane ticket. But don't ask me to pretend this didn't happen. Where is she supposed to go? You changed the locks. She can go to David's place. Oh wait, that's right. David's actual wife kicked him out and filed for divorce. Funny how that works." Patricia's phone rang. She looked at the screen and winced. "It's her," she said. "Answer it." Patricia put the call on speaker. Ava's voice came through, thin and desperate. "Mom, are you there? Did you talk to him?" "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm at the house." "Is Ethan there? Can you put him on the phone?" Patricia looked at me. I shook my head. "Honey, he doesn't want to talk right now." "Mom, I'm dying here. David's being a complete nightmare. He keeps saying this is all my fault, and he's talking about going back to his wife and begging her to take him back. I'm going to be stuck here alone." "Ava," Patricia said gently, "why did you send Ethan that photo?" There was a long pause. I don't know. I was drunk, and David said it would be funny. He said it would show Ethan that I wasn't going to put up with his boring life anymore." "You wanted to hurt him." "I wanted him to fight for me." Ava's voice cracked. "I wanted him to get jealous and come after me and prove that he still cared." I leaned toward the phone. "Well, Ava, mission accomplished. I cared enough to believe you when you said you married someone else." "Ethan, oh thank God you're there." "I'm here to tell you that your mother is welcome to help you however she wants. But you and I are done. You married David, remember? Go be married to David." "It's not real. The marriage isn't real. Tell that to the state of Nevada and to David's actual wife who's filing bigamy charges." "Ethan, please." I ended the call and looked at Patricia, who was staring at her phone like it had bitten her. "She wanted you to fight for her," Patricia said quietly. "For 15 years, I fought for her every day. I fought for her when she wanted to quit her job and start a blog. I fought for her when she wanted to spend our vacation fund on a girls' trip to Europe. I fought for her when she decided she didn't want kids even though I did. I fought for our marriage even when she stopped trying." I stood up and looked down at my mother-in-law. "But I won't fight another woman's husband for another woman's wife. Because that's what she is now, Patricia. She's David's wife. She chose him. She married him. She sent me the photo to prove it. So now she gets to live with that choice." Patricia gathered her purse and suitcase. "What am I supposed to tell her?" "Tell her congratulations on her marriage and good luck in Vegas." "Ethan, you're being cruel." "No, Patricia, I'm being consistent. Ava made an adult decision and documented it with photographic evidence. I'm treating her like the adult she claims to be." After Patricia left, I called Greg. "Dude, you're not going to believe what just happened." I told him about the conversation with Patricia and Ava. Greg was quiet for a moment. "So Ava admits she did it to make you jealous?" "Yep. She wanted me to fight for her." By marrying someone else. Apparently. And now she's shocked that you took her at her word. Shocked and appalled. Greg laughed, but it wasn't entirely pleasant. Ethan, I've got some news. David's been calling around town trying to find a lawyer to represent him in the bigamy case. Any luck? No one will touch him. Apparently, when you commit a crime and document it with wedding photos, it's not a great legal position. What about Ava? That's the interesting part. David's been telling people that the whole thing was Ava's idea. Says she seduced him and convinced him to marry her. Classy guy. Gets better. Linda Morrison recorded a conversation she had with David yesterday. Want to hear it? Absolutely. Greg played the recording. David's voice was whiny and defensive. Linda, baby, you have to believe me. This whole thing was Ava's idea. She got me drunk and dragged me to that chapel. I didn't want to do it, but she kept pushing and pushing. You know how persuasive she can be. Linda's response was ice cold. David, I've seen the photos. You look pretty happy for someone who was being forced into marriage. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. You knew enough to pose for pictures and sign legal documents. Linda, please. I made a mistake. A huge, stupid mistake. But it's not real. It doesn't mean anything. You're my real wife. You're the one I love. David, I filed for divorce yesterday, and I'm pressing bigamy charges. Whatever you had with me is over. You can't do this. I'll lose my job. I'll go to jail. You should have thought of that before you married someone else. The recording ended with David pleading and Linda hanging up on him. Wow, I said. So David's trying to throw Ava under the bus. Completely. And Ava's about to find out that her new husband is already trying to get back together with his old wife. This is going to get ugly. It's already ugly. The question is how ugly it's going to get before it's over. I was about to find out. At 3 p.m., my doorbell rang again. This time it was two people I didn't recognize, a man in his 50s wearing a cheap suit and a woman about my age with a notepad. Mr. Hart? I'm Detective Wilson with the Fraud Division, and this is Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen. We'd like to ask you a few questions about David Morrison and your wife. I invited them in and made coffee while they set up a small recording device on my kitchen table. Mr. Hart, Detective Wilson began, we understand that your wife and Mr. Morrison may have committed marriage fraud in addition to bigamy. Marriage fraud? Yes. We've been investigating Mr. Morrison for several months regarding insurance fraud and identity theft. Your wife's involvement may have been part of a larger scheme. Ada Chen opened a folder and showed me a stack of documents. Mr. Hart, were you aware that your wife had taken out a life insurance policy on you 3 months ago? My blood went cold. No, I was not aware of that. A $2 million policy with your wife as the sole beneficiary. She forged your signature on the application. She what? We believe Mr. Morrison convinced your wife to take out the policy as part of a plan to fake your death and collect the insurance money. The Vegas marriage was supposed to provide her with an alibi. She'd be out of town when you died in an accident. I sat down heavily. Are you telling me my wife was planning to kill me? We don't think she was going to kill you personally, Detective Wilson said. But we think Morrison was. He's done this before, Mr. Hart, twice, both times with married women who were having affairs with him. The room seemed to spin slightly. What happened to the other women? One is in prison for insurance fraud. The other is dead. Morrison killed her when she threatened to expose the scheme. Ada Chen leaned forward. Mr. Hart, when your wife sent you that wedding photo, she may have saved your life. Morrison was supposed to return to town alone and arrange your accident. Instead, they're both stuck in Vegas with no money and no way to complete their plan. So what happens now? Now we arrest them both. We have enough evidence to charge Morrison with conspiracy to commit murder and insurance fraud. Your wife will be charged as an accessory. When? We've already coordinated with Las Vegas Metro. They should be in custody within the hour. I looked at the two law enforcement officers sitting in my kitchen, then at the insurance documents with my forged signature, then at my phone with Ava's wedding photo still on the screen. Detective Wilson, can I ask you something? Of course. If Ava hadn't sent me that photo, if she'd just quietly had the affair and come home, would I be dead right now? Wilson and Chen exchanged glances. Probably, Wilson said. Morrison's timeline called for your accident to happen this weekend. Car crash, most likely. Your wife would have been in Vegas with a solid alibi and 2 million reasons to be sad about your death. I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd I couldn't process it any other way. So, my wife accidentally saved my life by being too stupid to keep her mouth shut about her own crimes. That's about the size of it, Ada Chen said. And now they're both going to prison. For a very long time. I looked at the wedding photo on my phone one more time, then at the forged insurance documents, then back at the photo. You know what? I said. I think I owe Ava a thank you card. The arrests happened at 6:47 p.m. Pacific time, while Ava and David were trying to check into a cheap motel on the outskirts of Las Vegas. According to the police report that Detective Wilson shared with me later, Ava was in the middle of a screaming match with David about him abandoning her for his real wife when 6 officers surrounded them in the parking lot. The local news station got footage of David being handcuffed while Ava collapsed dramatically against a police car, wailing about how this was all a misunderstanding. The reporter's voiceover was priceless. 2 Michigan residents were arrested today in connection with an elaborate insurance fraud scheme that police say involved bigamy, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit murder. The suspects were apprehended while attempting to check into a motel, apparently stranded in Las Vegas after their alleged victim froze their assets. I watched the news coverage with Linda Morrison, who had come over with a bottle of champagne and a grim smile. I can't believe I was married to a serial killer, she said, pouring 2 glasses. I can't believe I was married to someone stupid enough to document her own crimes and send the evidence to the intended victim. David must be furious with her right now. According to Detective Wilson, David's been blaming everything on Ava since the moment they put the cuffs on him. Says she seduced him, forged the insurance documents, and forced him to marry her. Linda snorted. Right, because David's such an innocent victim in all this. What's going to happen to your kids? They're staying with my parents for now. Honestly, they're better off not having David in their lives. The man they thought was their father was planning to murder people for insurance money. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the news coverage replay Ava's arrest. She looked terrible. Greasy hair, wrinkled clothes, the kind of desperate exhaustion that comes from 3 days of living in airports and cheap hotels. Do you feel sorry for her? Linda asked. I considered the question seriously. I feel sorry for the person I thought she was, but that person never existed. The real Ava was apparently willing to help murder me for $2 million. That's cold. That's reality. If she'd been smarter about it, if she'd kept the affair quiet and come home from Vegas like nothing happened, I'd probably be dead right now. My phone buzzed with a call from Maya. Ethan, I just saw the news. Are you okay? I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. The reporter said Ava was involved in a murder plot? Apparently. She forged my signature on a life insurance policy, then was supposed to provide herself an alibi while David arranged my accident. Jesus Christ, Ethan. The funny part is, she accidentally saved my life by being too dramatic to keep her mouth shut. How do you figure? If she'd just cheated quietly and come home, David would have killed me this weekend, and they'd have collected $2 million. Instead, she sent me a wedding photo. I froze all the assets, and they got arrested before they could complete their plan. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Ethan, you realize this means you were married to someone who was planning to have you murdered? Yeah, I'm processing that. How are you processing that? With champagne and the knowledge that she's going to spend the next 20 years in prison. That's actually pretty healthy, considering. After Maya hung up, Linda and I ordered pizza and settled in to watch the evening news coverage. Every local station was running the story, and it had started trending on social media. The hashtag Vegas divorce had evolved into Vegas murder plot, and the internet was having a field day. My favorite tweet was from a local comedian. Imagine being so bad at crime that you text photographic evidence of your conspiracy to your intended victim. This is why you don't plan murders while drunk in Vegas. But the post that really got to me was from Mrs. Chen, my 75-year-old neighbor. I always said that Ava girl was no good. Ethan Hart is lucky to be rid of her. Also lucky to be alive. Some people's children, I swear. At 10 p.m., Detective Wilson called with an update. Morrison's talking, he said, trying to cut a deal by giving up information about his previous victims. What's he saying about Ava? He's claiming she was the mastermind. Says she approached him with the plan, forged your signature, and convinced him to help kill you. And you believe that? Not for a second. Morrison's been running this scam for years. Your wife was just his latest mark, but she's not completely innocent either. She knew what she was signing up for. What kind of sentence are we looking at? For Morrison? Life without parole if we can prove he killed his previous victim. For your wife? Probably 15 to 20 years for conspiracy and fraud. And the bigamy charges? Those are the least of their problems now. After Wilson hung up, I sat in my living room, looking around at the house I'd shared with Ava for 8 years. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of selling it and moving somewhere new. Somewhere without memories of a woman who'd apparently been planning my murder while complaining about my morning coffee routine. Linda had fallen asleep on my couch, exhausted by the emotional roller coaster of the past week. I covered her with a blanket and went to my computer to check my email. There were hundreds of messages, interview requests from reporters, support from friends and family, and a surprising number of messages from complete strangers who'd followed the story on social media. But the email that caught my attention was from Patricia Patterson, Ava's mother. Ethan, I don't know what to say. I just spoke with the police, and they told me what Ava was involved in. I can't believe my daughter would do something like this. I raised her better than this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything she put you through, and I'm grateful you're safe. I know you probably never want to see me again, but I want you to know that I don't blame you for any of this. You did everything right. Ava made her choices, and now she has to live with them. I hope you can find some peace after all this. Patricia. I stared at the email for a long time, then typed back a short response. Patricia, thank you for the message. I don't blame you for Ava's choices. You're a good mother who raised a daughter who made bad decisions. That's not your fault. Take care of yourself. Ethan. At midnight, I made one final check of the news coverage before going to bed. The story had gone national. CNN was running a segment called The Vegas Marriage That Exposed a Murder Plot. Fox News had a panel discussing social media and modern crime. Even international outlets were picking it up. I was no longer just a man whose wife had cheated on him. I was the guy who'd accidentally foiled his own murder by taking his wife's infidelity seriously. The irony was not lost on me. As I was getting ready for bed, my phone buzzed with one last message. It was from Greg. Dude, you realize you're probably going to get movie offers, right? I typed back, only if they let me play myself. What would you call the movie? I thought about it for a moment, then smiled as I typed my response. Cool. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through my bedroom windows and the sound of birds chirping outside. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt genuinely happy. Ava was in jail, facing decades in prison for trying to have me killed. David was in jail, facing life in prison for being a serial killer. I was alive, free, and about to start a completely new chapter of my life. I made coffee. Real coffee. Not the decaf nonsense Ava had insisted on. and sat on my back deck, watching the sunrise paint my neighborhood in shades of gold and pink. My phone was already buzzing with calls from reporters, but I ignored them. Today wasn't about interviews or statements or social media updates. Today was about being alive. Linda emerged from the house around 8 a.m., looking rumpled but rested. "How are you feeling?" she asked, accepting the cup of coffee I offered. "Grateful," I said. Grateful to be alive, grateful to be free, and grateful that Ava was too stupid to keep her mouth shut about her own crimes. What happens now? Now? Now I sell this house, move somewhere new, and start living my life again. What about you? Same, I think. The kids and I need a fresh start somewhere David can't find us. Somewhere we can just be normal. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd been through hell and somehow come out the other side intact. "Linda, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you think they really would have gone through with it? The murder?" Linda was quiet for a long moment. "David killed before. The police confirmed it. So yeah, I think he would have killed you. And I think Ava would have let him, as long as she got her money." "That's what I thought." "Does it bother you, knowing how close you came?" "It should," I said. "But honestly, I'm just relieved it's over. For 15 years I felt like something was wrong with my marriage, but I couldn't figure out what. Now I know. My wife was a sociopath who was planning to murder me." That would definitely explain the marital problems. We both laughed, and it felt good. After a week of drama and revelations and arrests, it felt good to just laugh. At 10 a.m., Detective Wilson called with the final update I'd been waiting for. "Morrison confessed," he said. "Full confession. 3 murders, multiple fraud schemes, and conspiracy to kill you. He's going away forever." "What about Ava?" "She's trying to claim she didn't know Morrison was planning to kill you, says she thought it was just insurance fraud. But we found text messages between them discussing the accident and how to make it look convincing. So she knew. She knew. She's looking at 25 to life. Detective Wilson, thank you. For everything. Thank you, Mr. Hart. Your cooperation made this case a lot easier to solve. And, Mr. Hart, you might want to consider buying a lottery ticket. You're the luckiest man I've ever met." After Wilson hung up, I sat on my deck for another hour, processing the fact that my marriage was over, my wife was going to prison for trying to have me killed, and I was free to start over. At 41 years old, I was single, alive, and optimistic about the future for the first time in years. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, I worried it might be Ava calling from jail, but when I opened it, I smiled. It was from Mrs. Chen, my neighbor. "Ethan, I'm making pot roast tonight. You look too skinny. Come over at 6 now, and bring Linda if she's still there. That girl needs a good meal too." I texted back, "We'll be there, thank you." "Good. And Ethan, I'm proud of you. You handled this whole mess like a gentleman." I looked around my backyard one more time, then stood up and walked inside to start packing. I had a house to sell, a life to rebuild, and a future to look forward to. And it was all because my wife had been too dramatic to commit the perfect crime. As I folded clothes and packed books, I found myself humming. I couldn't remember the last time I'd hummed while doing chores. In the bedroom closet, I found a box of old photo albums, pictures of Ava and me from our wedding, our honeymoon, various anniversaries and vacations. I looked through them, trying to see signs of the woman who'd been planning my murder. But all I saw were photos of 2 people who'd looked happy once upon a time, before everything went wrong. I closed the album and put the box in the donation pile. Someone else could have those memories. I was ready to make new ones. At 6 p.m., Linda and I walked across the street to Mrs. Chen's house. The pot roast was incredible, the conversation was warm and normal, and for a few hours I forgot about murder plots and bigamy and insurance fraud. I just enjoyed being alive and free and surrounded by good people. After dinner, Linda and I walked back to my house. She was flying back to Chicago in the morning to start her new life with her kids. "Ethan, thank you," she said as we reached my front door. "For what?" "For being decent. For helping me through this. For showing me that not all men are like David." "Linda, thank you for the same thing. For showing me that not all women are like Ava." We hugged goodbye, and I watched her drive away to her hotel. Then I went inside, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat in my living room, thinking about everything that had happened. 7 days ago, I'd been a miserable married man, tinkering with a broken espresso machine at 2 a.m. Tonight, I was a free man whose wife was in jail for trying to have him murdered. It had been, without question, the strangest week of my life, but also, in a weird way, the best. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Greg. "Dude, the movie rights sold. Some producer in Hollywood wants to make this into a thriller. They want to know if you'd consult on the script." I typed back, "Only if they get the ending right." What's the right ending? I looked around my empty house, thought about my plans to move somewhere new and start fresh, and smiled as I typed my response. The good guy wins. The bad guys go to jail, and everybody gets what they deserve. Even Ava? Especially Ava. She wanted drama and excitement and a life full of surprises. Well, 25 years in federal prison should be plenty dramatic. I put my phone away and finished my wine. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of selling the house and planning my move. I'd give interviews to reporters who wanted to know how it felt to accidentally foil my own murder. I'd probably write a book about the whole experience. But tonight, I just wanted to sit in the quiet and appreciate the fact that I was alive. At 11 p.m., I got ready for bed. As I was brushing my teeth, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. I looked older than I had a week ago, but also somehow younger. The stress lines around my eyes were still there, but there was something different in my expression. I looked like a man who'd been given a second chance at life, because that's exactly what I was. I turned off the lights and went to bed, falling asleep quickly and dreamlessly for the first time in months. When I woke up the next morning, the first thing I did was check my phone to make sure the past week hadn't been some elaborate nightmare. But there it was, Ava's original text message, sent at 2:17 a.m. exactly 1 week ago. "Just married my coworker David. You're pathetic, BTW, staying here permanently. Don't contact me." Below it, the wedding photo that had started everything. I looked at the photo one more time, then deleted the entire message thread. I didn't need to keep the evidence anymore. The police had everything they needed. Ava and David were in jail where they belonged, and I was free to start over. I made coffee, checked the news coverage one final time, and then did something I hadn't done in years. I made plans for the future. Real plans. Exciting plans. Plans that involved traveling and maybe dating again, and definitely living somewhere that didn't remind me of a woman who'd tried to have me killed. At 9 a.m., I called a real estate agent. At 10 a.m., I called a moving company. At 11 a.m., I called my boss and gave my 2 weeks' notice. At noon, I drove to the airport and bought a ticket to Seattle, just because I'd always wanted to see the Pacific Northwest, and now I could. The ticket was for next month, after I'd finished selling the house and tying up loose ends in Michigan. But for the first time in years, I had something to look forward to. As I drove home from the airport, I passed the billboard advertising the Little White Chapel in Las Vegas. "Get married today," it proclaimed in bright, cheerful letters. I laughed and kept driving. I'd learned my lesson about Vegas weddings, but I'd also learned something more important. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened to you. Ava's betrayal had hurt. Her attempt to have me murdered had been shocking, but her stupidity in documenting both crimes and sending me the evidence, that had saved my life and given me my freedom. As I pulled into my driveway, I looked up at the house I'd shared with a woman who'd been planning my murder, and I smiled. Tomorrow, I'd start packing up my old life. But today, I was just going to enjoy being alive. And that felt pretty good.